All right, and welcome everybody to the Monday, December 9th Park and Rec Commission meeting. Here at 7 o'clock at the Rosemary Recreation Complex. We do have a quorum right now with 3 out of the 5 commissioners here. We do know that there are 2 other commissioners that are on their way to prior engagements, so they're running a few minutes behind. Also, just to note for the record that our director, Stacy Mulroy, is joining us via Zoom because she's a little bit under the weather and doesn't want to get other people sick. And we appreciate her time of taking out of her sick time today. So Stacy, welcome. There's a smile.
Thank you.
This will probably be the only meeting that we have till the end of the year, and our next meeting will probably start in January, if I think we were looking at that correctly. But we'll determine tonight if we need to have a meeting December 23rd, but I'm gonna go out on a limb and probably say we're not, but we will wait and see what happens. Going through the agenda, open forum or public comment. I do not see any other visitors or people on Zoom. There is nobody here besides us here in the complex, so we'll be good to go. No meeting guests are scheduled for tonight.
Good to go.
So now we will just jump into this beautiful looking director's report. Yeah, I mean, are we gonna see this every time? Or is it just like a once a month type of thing?
No, it's just your Christmas presents, your holiday presents. No,
Wow, the gift that keeps on giving.
no, I changed it up because I needed a different template and it was kind of boring. So I changed it up.
I think it's great. Now Stacey, again, it's completely up to you. I know that you're a little bit under the weather. Hannah, our assistant director, is here if you want her to go through things, just to kind of save your voice, either or, but it's your call.
I'm gonna let Hannah do most of the talking and then I can jump in when she is needs me to.
Okay.
Okay, so last Wednesday, we had our winter spring registration open up for residents. We did see quite a few people that morning, typically our senior group that does the exercise, the yogas, they want to get in on those classes. So they do a lot of registration in person. We do get a couple online. But most of those programs either fill up or have already filled up within this past couple of days. This Wednesday is when registration can start for non-residents, but as you can see for most of our winter / spring-ish, which we'll get into the next pages, they're starting to fill up. Obviously, over time and closer to those days, we do see a little bit of an uptick. Within the spring, though, we have seen a little bit of obviously people planning ahead. So like I said, senior exercise, senior yoga, very popular. And then most of our other programs, we're just waiting for people to buy that. And a lot of the vacation programs, I think that's more if people need it, they register then. We determine closer to the date if we need to have it. If you do recall too, in the winter time, we do a winter program, which is basically that week of most of the holidays that occur more towards the end of December. So we're still trying to decide if we're gonna offer that on the 24th, but we're definitely doing it the 23rd, 26th, and 27th. And we already have staff allotted to that from Chris Burnham and most of his summer camp counselors. Sometimes it's pool staff, but they like to stick to the water stuff. As for our vendor versus our programs, it's pretty much even, but like I said, our senior exercise and senior yoga, which we directly run, are very heavy with registration right now. And of course, closer to the dates of starting of any program, we kind of talk to the vendor or determine if we're gonna fully run that, whether it hits like our internal minimum or not.
Okay. It is good to see a lot of the gingerbread decorating sessions all look full.
That really took off. I don't want to take credit for that, but the second that we put that out on Facebook and the News in Needham, it got at least like 5 to 10 overnight, and then honestly, it's looking pretty full. If you have a really heart for gingerbread scent, if you wanna look in the back office. It's very, very present. We have to keep the door closed right now because it's pretty strong.
Absentee.
But we have staff coming in, I believe, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday of this week to start assembling, and then hopefully by Saturday morning, we're ready. Of course, with that registration number that you might see, which I'm still trying to find, that is probably just the base, if I'm not correct, Stacy, and then people might have already purchased additional houses within that list. So like you can buy a first house for $15, additional one is $10.
Yeah, so these
so-
are just the registration numbers, not the add-ons.
Yeah, so sometimes we'll have like a family do one, and then
Yeah.
you can get a little bit of this, little bit of a discount by doing the second one together. But I think we're gonna have to assemble at least like 120
The
houses.
gingerbread is pre-made, but you have to make the houses, you have.
Yeah, so we construct them, we put them together with hot glue because that's the best way to keep them
I know it's
together.
gonna heat better.
Correct,
Right.
yeah, so they use,
That's a good idea. We used to make them with that frosting and it's just a nightmare.
yeah,
Hot
they,
glue is just
even
a-
with the hot glue, they sometimes decide to fall
Yep.
apart.
Yep.
And whatnot, but we do have that coming up this weekend, and then. We're gonna see if there's any new programs that we can highlight. We do have some math classes that we're gonna be running under winter youth programs. There's some different
Oh, that's
subjects, so
cool.
algebra and geometry, we're gonna have, I believe the math teacher, I don't think they're from Needham, but I could be wrong about that. But just a different style of offering of what we have. And then we are doing a podcasting class as well.
I saw, someone posted that on Facebook. I wasn't sure if it's
Correct.
the same, it's a gentleman, correct?
Yep, I forget his name, so I apologize, but that's gonna be one of our new style of offerings. And then we do, so this is like a list for right now, some things that you might be looking for in like the adult section or youth section. Tennis, big program in the spring. We typically try and wait a little bit to schedule those. Mostly based on weather, but also with the instructors, so there will be a little bit of an update to the brochure and we will put those in accordingly. And then I actually was on the phone with someone today, we're gonna try and do some type of like flower bouquet class. And like just make, again, different style of offering, we haven't really done anything like that, it seems like those types of programs are a hit in other departments that we've talked to before, but.
Oh, it's great, try something new,
Can I ask a couple questions?
go right ahead, floor's open.
You'd be disappointed.
I'm shocked.
So the guest math, algebra, geometry, do you look at what maybe NEF is running or anything at the schools? Is there coordination with anybody else as to running these programs?
So I don't know if there is as much coordination with those two groups, but I know that. This person reached out to Chris and just said, I would love to like offer this style of program. Would you guys be interested? And he kind of laid it out for us and we said, we might as well try and run it and see if it works. If it doesn't run, or if we feel like there's a need to kind of connect with those two partners in the community, we can certainly try.
Okay, and I'm asking, because Colleen Shaler, Stacy knows, had asked about overlap of programs with things
Correct.
run at CAP, and I don't know that you connected with her, because I saw that you reached out and she was gonna be away or something. But, I think we need to at least be sensitive to any overlap or, into someone else's area, and, certainly algebra and geometry, I think might overlap with the schools or somebody related to the schools. I think it's a great idea. I just want to make sure you coordinate. I know Colleen was concerned that we're offering the same programs that they're offering at the CAB with the same vendor. And she said, it just doesn't make sense. So
Right.
hopefully that you guys will get to connect with her or somebody at the CAB. She's on the board. I think she's the president or the chair or whatever they have. Thank you.
If I could just jump in on that. So I have not connected with Colleen, but I did have Dom do some digging today about how long we've been running those programs, and I'm happy to connect with her and try and figure out how to offer it. Both of our programs without necessarily overlapping, like Hannah said, we had 28 of the 30 senior folks in the building at 9 a.m. Actually, they were there at 8 a.m. to register at 9 a.m. for our program. They create their own little number system and line, so it's very interesting. So I don't know that we want to fold our programs, but we certainly want to be open to some opportunities to work with the cast. As far as NCE, they don't, I've talked to them a few times. They don't seem to stop running programs that typically we would run. But I have put a call out there to them to say like, hey, we're going to run this. Do you have any problems? And I try to stay away from any of the same vendors that NCE is using specifically because of procurement issues. If you spend too much money with one particular vendor, it's technically town-wide, not department-wide. But you know, we've had a little push-pull with NCE regarding some of the programming because they're starting to offer things like baseball and soccer and
Yeah.
all kinds of things that we typically run. Excuse me. So
That's
it
crazy.
is a bigger conversation that's sort of ongoing and not atypical. In my last community, we had the same rub with NCE, and most communities that have an NCE, you know, it starts off as sort of enrichment programming and then they sort of blossom, especially now they run summer camps just like we run. So
Where do they run them out of?
typically they run out of High Rock.
Oh,
Yeah, I don't think it's unusual. I think that for us to keep things smooth, we probably periodically need to have meetings with these groups. And when I say periodically, it's maybe every 3, 4, or 5 years, right? But we need to have that meeting and have all of these groups together so that we can coordinate, because I think it makes us all look foolish to be offering either the same thing or to overlap, or, you know, you would
Split the
think-
numbers.
should we
Yeah,
invite
or
them to
the educational
to
things
summit?
may go one place, you know, I'm gonna say the school educational things, but whereas
Absolutely.
the recreational things should be us, right? And if they think they can run it better, then we should talk about it, right? So anyway, that's just my thing. I think we did have a meeting at least once, and I think maybe twice during my tenure with a bunch of groups to try to not overlap. I don't know that it was very successful, but at least it was nice for everyone to hear it and be mindful.
We meet with
Alright.
them pretty frequently because we work with them for our summer camp programs. Like
Okay.
you know, so the schools send kids to our programs or to their programs depending on the need. So we do spend a lot of time together, but you know, I think we're probably due for another group meeting of like all of the organizations that offer programming.
Who runs NCE? Do we know?
Diane Simmons.
Okay.
I don't know what her title is. It has like 8 words. But she works in the school. She's in the schools.
Okay.
Is it worth getting an invitation out to maybe sometime in February, or is that kind of too late? Is it the right time? I mean, I don't think
mean-
they should come to the field summit because I think it's too different than the
No.
user groups and it'd be
Yeah.
overwhelming to them.
No, I think yeah, timing doesn't matter. They're gonna have their summer brochure out months before ours go out. So whatever it is, it isn't gonna be, we're not gonna catch it in the
Got
exact
it.
same month. So we might as well just set up a meeting with that's convenient for us so that we can at some point hopefully make some changes.
Okay. Perfect then, all right. My only other question is just as more inquisitive, what or where do we do the badminton? What school?
Pollard.
Got it. I was just looking at the numbers and you can see that 241, registered participants. That's a huge number. I'm just curious of where we do it.
You want to put that in first?
Well, I don't know if I can get in. It looks, it's so packed. I don't know if I
Did
have
you
a
say
chance.
241?
Yeah.
That's for 2 sessions of badminton, basketball and volleyball.
I'm sorry,
Oh,
I'm sorry, yeah, I was looking at the total one. You're right, it's
I was
120
like,
for badminton.
hold the phone. They should only have 60 right here.
I was looking at the bottom.
I was
And
like,
I guarantee you, if we looked at like name for name or like crossover, it's probably a lot of the same people
Okay.
from Monday night to Tuesday night.
I hear you.
And then any more questions about the more number-based section of the director's report? Then we can move on to the fancy side of things.
Can I ask a quick question about programs? Somebody asked me, and I did not have the answer, but it was a great question. Do we offer any programs that are, for, disabled, like for, what's the word? I'm looking
Inclusive
for?
or adaptive?
Inclusive, thank you. Do we run anything like that?
We don't run any inclusive program,
Adaptive.
Like
we don't
unified,
run
unified,
sub-separate
Yeah.
programming.
Okay.
So I think one thing to understand is there's adaptive programs where it is specifically for a group where there's maybe some type of different abilities that they have versus inclusive. Inclusive can be anyone can take the program and we can find ways to adapt that program
Okay.
for them. So like a lot of our swim lessons are adaptive swim lessons. It's a one-on-one because that is best what is for the participant. In terms of inclusive programs, anyone can register if there's certain types of abilities that they would need or things to make them more successful in the program, they would probably reach out to Chris, Stacy, myself. And we
Okay.
can see how we can best fit that.
Okay.
Question to ask and go with me on this one. In regards to spring, summer and fall, we have the fields. If there's any issues with the fields, people come to us. That with the indoor programming that we have, that someone left me a very lengthy voicemail last week about the conditions of some of the indoor facilities. I understand it is our programming that we have in there, but I don't look at that as that's something that we need to fix or manage. If there is an issue with, say, a flooring or something like that, who is responsible for that? Is it the school, building maintenance? I mean, who is the person, like, we take care of the fields? Who is our counterpart for indoor activities?
So similar to fields where like it's being told to one of you and then maybe relayed to Stacy and myself. Then maybe Ed is looped in for any like actual alteration or fixes that need to happen. The permits that are held through indoor spaces or this space is mostly Chris, who's pulling those. Submitting them through event manager. A lot of it is going through George. Correct me if I'm wrong, and
George is.
George is.
George is the senior head custodian in the evenings. And if this person, so Hannah's correct. So Chris runs all of our indoor programming. But if this person that you got this lengthy email is complaining about the condition of the basketball floors for practice, then that
could
would
one of them,
be,
yes.
that would be building maintenance. And they probably are not gonna wet mop the floors before all the activities are done. They're gonna wait to the end of the day.
Sure, no, I hear you
But
on
it
that one.
is,
I
it
mean,
is under building maintenance, which is DPW.
got it.
It was the complaint about the condition, like the cleanliness or the?
It was more of a
Too dusty.
rambling voicemail, so it's kind of all lumped into one, but just, you know,
I mean, if they
just
don't,
to ask, if we're gonna ask about one, might as well ask about it all.
they don't like the building itself, that's, that's.
No, I think it's just more of the cleanliness of the floor, which it happens. But if there's any like, you know, pieces missing, I don't think that's the issue. I think it's just more of the general maintenance of the facilities at the time, which that's what I got out of the message, and I will bring it up tonight, and that's what I did.
Good job.
Perfect, thank you very much. All right, anything else to do with the programming?
I would
guys
say
see
that
my
page
screen?
that.
Yes,
Yeah.
Okay.
I would say that sheet that has programming on it, the next page, Stacy. So again, like I said, our winter spring registration opened last week, and then we had over 125 individual registrations on that day, in person or online, those are combined. Took in under a little $8,000, so not bad.
we'll start.
In terms of monthly objectives though, I think Stacy wrote these, however, I can say that the bottom two, increase marketing output and frequency, as well as increased number of registrations, kind of tie into that marketing and output. If we're not marketing things and we're not telling the public, whether it's the News You Need Ham, the website, or our Facebook page and Instagram, it's not getting to the people.
Mhm.
Gingerbread house decorating was a prime example. I posted it one day and I got 10 registrations overnight. And that's kind of why we're trying to think of our registration numbers, in terms of capacity as well as canceling. We do not like to cancel, and we only do it if we really, really have to, whether it's enrollment or things like weather.
Is there one, place that seems to be better than another? I mean, the Facebook page or, the town newsletter or anything that you think is somewhat, no, Stacy's, no?
I think it's just like, you have to put it on
Get a blast.
everything, because there's gonna be the one person that says, I didn't see it. When we had our fall family day, we had put out physical, like those lawn signs, we had done those in multiple locations. Facebook, Newsy Needham, like, we had local businesses hang up the flyers because they were participating in Spooky Walk. And there were still a couple people that came by the concert and said, I had no idea this was going on, and I was like, well, I'm so glad that you're here to join us, but like, unless you're like handing people stuff and like putting it in their mailbox, which we have nearly eliminated at this point from our
Right.
department. I think it's just making sure that it goes out. I know that the system that we use and like what we made this on, Canva, is really helpful, in terms of like scheduling. So if I wanted to make a flyer for all of those programs that were in those previous pages, I could make a flyer and schedule it to go out like different times and different days. It's just like, how do we get that one person or like someone to fully do that? And there is such thing as over marketing, like, we don't want things going
People
out.
start to ignore it.
Yeah.
Do you want us to share, like, I try to share some stuff, but I'm not always, like, I'm more on Instagram than I am on Facebook, like. Would it help if we have personal Facebook accounts and also for like, baseball and field hockey pages for us to share the stuff? Okay.
Okay,
Alright.
definitely.
You know, we used to have to sign up for this stuff in person.
Right, with the
And my
index
kids were little, you would
cards.
have to get in line and you
Yeah.
had to get here early and you still might get shut out. And it was awful,
Yeah,
just awful. I mean,
I
I
mean-
think these parents are so lucky.
with the popular programs like senior exercise and senior yoga, we still have some people
Yeah.
like that don't get in, and where they have to modify their schedule and do a different program, but we can only take so many people in this
Right.
space, as you
Right.
can imagine, but then it's just like, how do we teach them to do it online so they can possibly beat the other people in person? But it's a never ending like circle.
Give
But
a tech for old people course.
I thought about doing a MyRed course. but
Yeah.
I just don't know if people will
They
attend.
probably do stuff like that at the senior center. away
Right.
from-
Oh, right,
They do a
yeah.
lot of that. Yeah, well, they use some of that at the town, yeah,
Definitely something to look
but
into.
they may not do the park and rec system. And
I think they're technically on it, but don't use it a whole lot, yeah, but, I mean, if
We're working
that
on it.
was the meetup of people and they wanted it, certainly. Person myself could run something like that. In terms of fields and facilities, most, if not all of our athletic fields are. No longer being used right now, as we don't have any sports going on. We don't have, to shovel or plow our turf, as we do not want people doing that, just a friendly reminder.
Hopefully we'll get the snow this year.
Oh, there's a kiss of bank right there.
Yeah.
And then our tennis courts will officially be closing within the next week. Meaning all nets and equipment will be removed and stored. And then during the spring season, we will have them locked and then unlocked when we deem that it's nice enough. As for the pool, we have a meeting set up, I think, next week with Weston and Sampson, if not the week after, to go over our expectations for this upcoming summer and what we have for opening and closing items as for like what we are expecting as part of that contract, and then certain dates that we will be negotiating later on in the new year.
Quick question, I not pushing back at all, just a question. I'm curious, why do we close the tennis and pickleball courts in the winter, just because to give it some like rest for wear and tear or
Safety, maybe?
Yeah.
safety? Okay,
It's
that's
a
what
little bit,
I,
little bit of everything.
Yeah.
So we take down the nets. The nets are actually really like pretty expensive.
Yeah.
So if it stays out, depending on the winter we have, if it stays out, the nets deteriorate, make it harder. The biggest concern I have, honestly, and now with global warming, you know, if it's real, is we have had people out there salting the courts, and if you put
Oh.
salt on the tennis courts, it's going to eat at the surface that is already pretty rough.
Yeah.
And we also don't want people shoveling, and we don't want people walking out there if it's icy, because then it becomes a liability.
Okay.
So
what I
typically
figured.
we try to wait as long as we can. We close them up, and then we try to get them open as early as we can.
Yeah.
But those are the reasons. And in a different community, we did not lock our courts, and somebody went out there, and the nets were down. They were closed, but we didn't lock them, and somebody went down and then sued the town. So
Oh, wow.
it's just one of those things that it's like it's just safer for the 8 to 12 weeks that we're closed
Yes.
to make sure everybody stays off of them and
Yeah.
doesn't
No, I
ruin.
agree.
So Stacy, do the other towns do this? Cause you know, I feel like every year I read on Facebook. Why does Needham close its courts? Nobody else does blah, blah, blah. And I agree with you. I think it's the right thing to do. But do the other towns do that? You know, I struggle with anecdotal evidence, right? People make
Yeah.
those comments, but is it true or not true?
Yes, so it's a mixed bag. Some people just budget that they're gonna have to change out their courts on a regular basis. Some people's insurance companies are not as strict as ours, but I would say it leans towards the 70-30, 60-40% that close. So more towns close their courts. Whether or not they lock them is a different story, depending on the number of courts. Like for instance, I think Newton has like 40 courts of some kind, so I'm not sure they lock them all, but people do close them, just not everybody.
Okay,
And we
I'm
can look
assuming
in the
whoever
other,
takes-
once we have the post-tension concrete, I'm sorry to interrupt you. I can't see you.
okay.
This is very weird. But with the post-tension concrete, I would be less concerned about the floor, but I'm still concerned about people getting, it's just like we do ice checks and people are out there on the ice, even though we say don't go on the ice. Somebody can just slip and fall, and that's always my concern.
Thanks. I'm just, my follow-up is, I'm assuming whoever takes the nets down, which may be DPW, I'm not, don't think it's you folks, but it is you. Then I'm assuming that you do kind of an inventory of which nets are good enough to go back up and which ones are gonna have to be replaced, so that we have ordered them in advance and we're not short on nets. Is that true?
That is correct. We have about 6 nets in storage right now. So what we typically
Okay.
do is, because the high school tennis courts have been so wonky until now, when we get this new, we kind of rotate. So we have the new nets, and then the new nets become like the meh nets, and then, oh, we can get one more year out of this net. Those nets go to the high school, or they did. And so we just kind of shuffle them around, and move them around as we get new ones in. So they don't all go in and come out at the same time. We usually, somewhere between 2 or 3 a year is a brand new net. But
Okay.
yes,
Thank you.
Park and Rec along with Woo, our park ranger usually takes them down. They get stored downstairs in the lifeguard room for the winter season.
Okay,
Moving on to staffing for 2025. We, at the end of our summer, if not like the week or two before the summer's actually done, we put out our reapplication. So whether you're interested in becoming, coming back as a camp counselor or lifeguard, or if you determine you want to switch as well, or level up in your respective camp or pools, you're more than welcome to fill that out. We have to date over 45 returner applications, which is typically what we see. A lot of people, the kids are scared of filling that out, thinking that they're signing themselves away for the summer, whereas we just want to know if you're interested in coming back. And by filling out that application, it kind of is half the battle. In terms of, what we will probably be seeing in January is a little bit of an uptick, and then there's gonna be a couple people in February that said they didn't wanna come back and they wanna come back. We don't necessarily hold those jobs. I think that we should probably think about having a date of when we want those people to fill that out. Whether it's a loose date or not, we can determine that, but for right now, for the pool, we're looking to hire 30 new, which is again, just based on what I have for reapplications, so that definitely could go down. But I think a lot of our staff there is phasing out. They're either juniors in college looking for internships that might drive something beyond college, or they are going to be graduating and looking for, as they say, a big kid job. In terms of summer camp staff,
Real job.
yeah, I think they're a little bit less than pools, but certainly looking for some new friends there as well. And then we typically put out our application in January. Those will be different applications, so if you're looking to work for the pools, there's going to be an application for that. If you're looking to work for the camps, there's gonna be an application for that. And you're certainly able to fill out both. And there's definitely gonna be a box that says, did you fill out a camp application? If this is the Rosemary one, and vice versa, so we know. But keeping it separate has some advantages on the back end for Chris and I, and whatnot, but interviews will start after the new year, so probably around this first, if not second week in February is when my ideal time is. I think Chris is similar. I didn't really keep a good eye on that last year when he started, but like we always say, if you know anyone that's interested, please make sure that they fill out an application when that does come out. That gets posted on our social media, so Facebook, Instagram. We do put something out in the News You Need Ham, and then we also have typically sat in the high school during, I think, after school hours, if not like midday hours. I think there's definitely room to improve our presence within the high school and get more kids from Needham, maybe going through
Guidance
guidance.
practices, like things like that.
Yeah,
You
maybe
should.
going through a guidance counselor, as those are typically an outlet for kids and whatnot. So definitely trying to find ways to be creative about hiring. And if you have any suggestions, we're definitely open to that as well.
I
So
would definitely reach out to like the spring coaches, like, and ask if, you know, you could come and talk at the end of the practice or something, and just that I know, like I've done that to try to get kids, I was gonna say recruit, but get kids to play rugby, like at the end of the winter season, I go to the winter coaches and talk about rugby, and it's actually been really helpful, so it might be, like I'd more than happily have you come to one of my practices at the end, and just talk about, they're always looking for jobs, it's like they act like they have no idea how to search for a job, but so we're in this era of they expect everything
Yep.
to come to them, so.
which like we do when we try and go to the high school.
Yeah.
I think it's not the best time, in my opinion. We did get quite a bit of foot traffic the one day that I went last year. We got like 10 people to fill out an application, but even if, like, you probably have experience, you get 10 people to fill out the application, only like 2 are responding to you.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And like this year, at least for wrote the pool, I think with Camp 2 is like asking the individual, like, how do you want to be contacted and how often do you want to be contacted? Because we're different generations here. Like, I don't like to be texted by my friends every day, but like if a boss texts me every day, like that's kind of part of the deal. However, I think they need to understand, like, I'm not gonna text you everything, but like have that general
Yes.
consensus that like,
Yeah.
this is, you have to meet them where they're at. And Stacy and I always say that. So I think that's
100%.
again, step in the
yeah.
right direction, but like understanding, as Stacy says, we're not gonna Snapchat you, like.
Right, right.
We have some hard lines, but.
Or like you'll ask them for an email address, they give you an email address, but it's like the one they never check, like you have to be so clear, be like, I need an
Yeah,
email
well,
address that you
Sure,
charge
it's
now.
inappropriate.
Yeah,
Yeah, But that's kind of all we have for staffing. If you have no questions, I'll keep going, or.
What,
if
just
you
a
want
question
to-
on that, what is that thing that the high school does at, I think at the beginning of the year where all the activities are there?
It's in June.
And we do that, oh, are we there?
It's funny you ask, because I've asked about that, but I don't know who to get in.
Ryan Madden,
Okay,
yeah,
Right, it has all the clubs and all the
It's-
activities
yeah,
and things
it's,
like that.
which like, I also think the timing is a little off, because come June.
Right.
We
So when
probably
you-
hired a lot.
they do it in June for the following school year, but I talked to Ryan actually last year. And I suggested, because, you know, when you do it in June, it's a very big presence and you remember fall sports, winter, but you're not gonna remember spring, so we talked and I suggested that they do one in the winter also. And I think he was going to like maybe January-ish, February-ish, and I can keep, if I hear anything, I can keep you guys posted.
Yeah. we would
Yeah,
appreciate that.
it's
Okay.
like the rising, they call it like the rising ninth grade
Okay,
athletic
yep.
fair.
Okay. Perfect. Do you want to start back at the beginning, because Michelle's here now? Yeah, we'll slide it in, don't worry about that.
Do you have anything to add, Stacy, or? No? Do you want to talk a little bit about the budget?
Oh, thank you for
Finance?
setting the budget. I appreciate that.
Yes,
Sure, no problem. So these are just some of the highlights for your knowledge. I did send over the budget as you guys were talking about. Action Sports Park and Elliott School renovations have been submitted to CBC, just so we're aware. I submitted Action Sports Park, DPW, Ed Olson submitted the Elliott School renovations. They sent us the generic questions and then they sent us more questions for both of them. Those questions are due back to CBC by January 1st. We don't have any formal dates for presentations yet, but once I do, we will send them along.
quick question on that one. I know you sent us the one on the action park. Did you also send us the ones on Elliott, even though it's not us? That's presenting,
think
would
I
it be nice
did.
just to see?
Yeah, I can send
Yeah,
those
I mean,
over
just to
too.
see what
That's not a
questions are
problem.
asking about it, because they might ask us, even though Ed or whoever might be pitching it, it's good to
Yep.
know what those questions might be for Elliott.
I just noticed, Chris, you and I made the page. Did you see that?
We'll be doing autographs later.
Yes, yes.
Sorry. Tangent.
So the operating budget was
IDD.
presented in November. My overall operating budget is only increasing by 2.8, which is under the 3% that the town always requests of us. This is the first year I have ever hit that mark. And the town manager was very curious as to what's going on, because I don't know if you all remember, but my first year I needed to request a 126% increase in my budget, and FinCom had a lot of questions. I don't have a date for our presentation to FinCom, but I'm meeting with them next week, or the week after, to present the Memorial Park trustees budget, because the first time ever, I increased it from $750 to $2,000, and so they have a lot of questions about why. They don't really. I think they're just going through the motions. But it was fascinating. And then the capital budget was also presented. Like I said, our specific request is for the Action Sports Park, because the tennis courts is also in there, but that was approved at fall town meeting. And DPW is requesting the funds for the Elliott School, and I'll make a note to send you guys those questions for CPC. Does anybody have any questions on the budget or finances?
So you do not have a meeting, you do not have a date yet with the finance committee to do that correctly?
Not for Park and Rec, just for Memorial Park.
Okay.
Question or just follow up in regards to the tennis courts at the high school, that I know we are putting the bid together. Do we have an update? When do we look to maybe have the bid go out for public?
I did get a timeline from Cecilia and John. It's not gonna go out until after the holiday, I can tell you that much.
Sure, oh, no, I would expect it to.
Yep, but I think it's like right after is when we're gonna post it. I think I have that in my email, so I can take a look and find it and then send it to you, folks.
Okay, no, just, I mean, yeah, put it on the radar.
Yep, yep. It's a good question.
Yeah.
Another question?
I do have another question. So last time, Stacy, you talked, you mentioned to us that I thought the active recreation group was considering using part of the Rosemary property for a dog park. And so I thought that was under consideration by that group. Then I was surprised that the next night to find that that was a presentation to the select board. And it sounded like, to me, like it was a done deal. And, I did try to call you, to ask about that. Surprising to me, because that property is under the jurisdiction of the commission, I believe. The
It is,
Rosemary,
yes.
and we didn't talk about that, to my knowledge, at all. So I was surprised, because it sounded to me like it was presented to the select board as kind of something had been decided upon, and yet I didn't think the commission had ever discussed it, unless I missed it. But is there something there that I missed, or what is the status of that? Because that was honestly a big surprise to me.
Sure, and I'm sorry, I never got a call from you, Cindy, but I did drop my phone a week ago, so that could be a problem.
And no,
That
I
thought it
left a
was
voicemail probably a day or two after the select board meeting, so I would say they
Okay.
meet on Tuesday, it was probably Thursday that I called, anyway, but I left a message. I did not follow up when I didn't hear back from you, but anyway, what is the status of that?
so I can tell you this much for sure. It is not a done deal. The select board, as part of their goals, asked us to review the three different areas. The town manager asked us to walk it through. But I just received something yesterday in writing that's like the next steps for that group is to present it to the Park and Rec Commission and ask if they're interested or willing to do this. So the next step in the process is to come to us. I'm not sure why the select board asked us to come present it. Kate had asked me, like, can you come to this meeting? So I did. But I agree, it's kind of a weird timing, like sort of putting the cart before the horse. But I did just receive on a different thing about the select board goals, that the next step is for them to come to us. To you, not me, but you guys,
Okay,
if that makes sense.
So it does, and, you know, you might not know the service, but I often feel like we're the Rodney Dangerfield of town boards, right? Chris gets it right there, we don't always get the respect, but, if the select board wants to propose a piece of our property to be a dog park, then I think that, obviously they can do that, but I think it would be, polite, right, or good form for them to talk to us. The same way we wouldn't propose to build something on a school property, because it's not our property, right? And if we thought it was a good place, we would ask for permission, right, to study it or whatever. And I don't think that we would ever, not try to cooperate, right? We would always try to cooperate and do our best, even if, right, we may not agree, but we try to work it out. So it would be nice if they want to take what is a beautiful piece of property, that Rosemary property. I don't know how well it's used, but it is a beautiful piece of property. You can walk through there and you feel like you're in the middle of a forest somewhere, when in fact you're, you know, a mile from Route 95, right? I don't know that I'm in favor of a dog park being there. And, you know, I haven't been too crazy about the dog park on many of our properties, but I think it would be great to have that conversation before it. And again, it sounded to me like it was presented as, we would probably put a dog park on a part of the Rosemary Trail property. And, so maybe it's just the way I heard it, you know, maybe I was too sensitive to it, but, it would be nice if that were a conversation before anything sounds like it's been decided.
So I could see why you would pick up on that in that way. They're looking at Rosemary not as a dog park or bark park or whatever you want to call it, but as an off-leash dog area. So they're not looking to make that. So they are looking at Mills and Hillside as possible dog or bark parks is what they're calling them. Something about square footage. But for Rosemary, they're not looking to make it any specific park at all, other than potentially allowing off-leash dogs on that one trail and in that area. But I can certainly reach out to them and make sure that, reach out to Kate and make sure they understand that, but that was what was presented, was it as an off-leash dog area, not as a park.
If you think that we should reach out to the select board, I am happy to reach out to members because, we have not taken a position on a dog park or whatever, Holly Park, off-leash park, except to say that we didn't think it was appropriate for our properties, right? That was the position we had a few years back.
Mhm.
And so if we're going to talk about that position, then I think we as a commission should talk about it. And, maybe just remind them that these properties are under our jurisdiction, and so we do have a to us, I'm not saying they belong to the town, but we do have a say and we have a responsibility, right, to do, as a commission, to do the right thing with these properties. So I take that pretty seriously, and I'm happy to reach out, if, I don't know anybody really well in the select board anymore, but I'm happy to reach out if you think that's appropriate. If it's premature, I'm happy to not do it yet, but I would like us to be represented, our position as what it is, and if the other commissioners think we need to talk about it again and come up with our position again, I'm happy to do that too, but I think we've taken a position in the past, and unless we change that, I would want to be sure that that's represented to them. So,
No, I
would leave.
No,
that-
I was agree, like, if it's either a chairs meeting or we go to one of their meetings one night just to kind of air it all out to be like, what direction you going with? I think we should definitely do that.
Is Kevin still in the select?
He's the chair,
Okay,
Who's the
so,
chair?
'cause I mean, you know,
I-
it does go through, we're the ones that are gonna have to answer for it.
yeah,
I have my weekly check-in with Katie King tomorrow, so I can touch base with her and find out what the best next steps are, whether we reach out or internally we schedule something like a chairs meeting, so I can touch base with her tomorrow and then circle back with you folks
And then
afterwards.
was that, did you say Katie King?
Katie
Yeah, I would
King is
just
my
like them
weekly
to
check-in.
know- Okay, I would like them to know that I'm gonna say at least one commissioner, feels very strongly about our properties and what our responsibility is to take care of those properties. I would suspect my other commissioners feel the same way, but I wouldn't speak for them. And I would want them to know that this is a big deal to us. This is a very big deal, that you're gonna take and change the use of our properties from either a passive recreation
without
park
even talking.
or, right,
Yeah.
right, and we would want to be part of that conversation and definitely want to weigh in, so. But yeah, I do feel very strongly about it, as you can tell.
I just think it's like you said, it's a matter of like respect, like, you know, just. We're not gonna always shoot everything down, but like communication is like key and
Right.
for everything, I always say, so, anyway.
And I do think these locations were discussed at the active recreation,
Oh, yeah.
like that as part of that process, but it was. What would be our recommendation, right, there wasn't a discussion here about them, it was like, if you had to. Provide a list, what would it be?
Mhm.
And that was as far as that got, right, and so now it's what, 6 months, almost like a year later, that this is sort of.
And no one has realized.
Exactly,
Right.
so in terms of, yeah, so, but in terms of where the list came from, in terms of, right, state reference to, it's that.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah, thank you.
okay. Anything else in regards to, I guess that was a little capital budget?
I just wanted to put out there that I know I sent the operating budget and the capital budgets out there. Two things. If anybody has any questions about the operating budget, I'd be happy to talk you through it or talk about it offline. So we don't waste everybody's time and my voice. But if you do have any questions, because it can be confusing, I know it was for me the first year, I'm happy to walk people through that. The other thing that came out last week was the town manager always tiers all the capital improvement requests. And that came out last week. And I can tell you that the active recreation group was on tier 1, the active recreation project, which is a good thing. That's a positive thing. Tier 1s are yays. We have been on the other side of that with like pool shade project has been bumped a year or two ago. But I just want to put that out there because it came in late last week.
Yeah, that's awesome. Thank you.
And then on every Friday, ending last Friday, because it's cold now, we have been going to Claxon early in the morning, checking in with our consulting groups that are over there. So last week, you can kind of see it. There is some snow, so sorry, Jim. But there is a little bit of some finishing, the on-site stockpile. In terms of the dugout and batting tunnel pads, they have done most of the concrete pours for that. I believe they're finishing basically the rounding out, behind the dugouts. There's that word backstop, that's the one, where it connects, sorry. In terms of what they're doing this week with the weather, it's a little hard. If it's gonna be raining, they don't particularly wanna be pouring that concrete. But they're still, sure enough, gonna have some work that they're gonna be doing.
They're not gonna, they're not gonna come pour the concrete till the spring, right? Because doesn't it have?
They've already poured.
They poured it.
They've
Yeah.
already done most.
The weather's been very.
Oh, good.
Oh, yeah, no, that's.
But like in terms of this week. there's
Yeah,
a-
they're for the dugout.
That's
or
a,
The one on the
that's a
top
dugout.
right, is that the dugout?
nope, that's.
Batting
So,
cages.
That's a
Oh, that's the batting cage,
Oh,
That's a
okay.
batting cage.
The
All
circle
of-
one on the bottom,
These are all
Awesome.
pictures, by the way, of Claxton 2. They hadn't yet gotten to Claxton 1 as of the pictures on Friday. So
Okay.
these are all Claxton 2. So
Okay.
these are where you see the orange wiring, that is the those are the dugout pours that they
Yeah.
were getting ready
got
for.
it.
And the big one right here that you can see my cursor around, that
Yep.
is the batting tunnels.
Oh,
Wow.
nice.
And this right here up on the left, that is if you're basically standing at the pitcher's mound of Claxton 1, taking a picture out towards the outfield of Claxton 2.
Yeah. Got it.
And all the lights have been retrofitted and put back out, right?
Yep, these bad boys are Musco LEDs right here.
Yeah, are all the lights, not just like for facilities like this, but like scoreboards and all that, it's all going LED, huh?
Yeah, so our sustainability manager is helping move everything, but scoreboards and things like that, as we replace them, we'll move over to
Yeah.
LED. We're not gonna rip them out of the right now. But yes,
Yeah.
all new things are all LED for energy savings.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, I saw Ryan up on the ladder changing the lights himself on one of the scoreboard. I liked it.
All right, anything else in regards to the Claxon project? Or any other follow-up questions in regards to the director's report? All right, back to the agenda. I think we're just gonna crank through these because there's probably not a lot to go through. No update on commission policies, correct? CPC, everything has been submitted. We don't have the dates yet of when we're meeting.
No.
As you know, but we do have a representative that is speaking on for us, so if you do hear of any dates anytime soon, definitely channel them out.
We were meeting Wednesday, so.
Perfect. Operating budget, we kind of just went through. If anyone has any detailed questions, for Stacy, you can reach out to her directly and go over certain things. The only thing that I would actually like to see if we can bring up, and it doesn't have to be for the rest of this year, but could be before we have the field summit. Can we get a list of the invoices or what we took in for user fees for spring, summer and fall for 2024?
They're working on that.
So, okay, I mean, just like, or in general, like, because we should have what we brought in for spring and summer. I know fall, we're still trying to kind of finish that one out, but even if it's a ballpark, like we took it an average of $80,000 for the spring over the last few years, just so we have an idea of what we collect. I mean, I know what one or two user groups bring in, but I'd like to see what everything brings in.
You go first.
So Nikki and I are working on gathering and shoring up exact information, because the email from the lacrosse group kind of put me on edge a little bit. So what I did was I re-asked the user groups to send me their rosters for all of 2023 and all of 2024. So we are going to put together a chart of what we brought in for each of the seasons in 23. And then I'm going to also talk to Eddie about what we use that money for. because as we take it in, then Eddie spends it the next spring, on fertilizer and subcontracting some stuff out, typically to Tom Irwin Company. We are all gonna do the same thing with 2024. Obviously, typically that money coming in is spent in the following spring, so Eddie will not have spent it, but I know he's ready to. He is ready to spend that money. So we're looking at that and we're doing a deeper dive, just making sure we really got everything. Because I was unpleasantly surprised by that email from La Crosse, and I wanted to make sure that everybody was doing what we were asking, because there's more and more requests from the user groups to make our fields pristine, which I absolutely agree they should be, but Eddie's team is only so big and we have to subcontract out more and more every year, and we can't do that without money coming in.
What email from La Crosse are we talking? I don't.
You responded to it.
You did,
I
the one
did?
about
You
the,
did.
they don't take
Oh, I thought you
registrations
meant
for
you
the
got
farm.
an no, I thought you meant you, Chris, I thought you meant you got an email back from La Crosse. No,
No,
okay.
just the email about them not taking
Yeah.
registrations, so they don't have to
Yeah,
pay
yeah, yeah,
anything.
yeah. Yeah,
Can you give us any update on that group? Is it appropriate to ask that at this point, Mr. Chair?
I think you can ask for an update, yes.
So I'll give you a
Let's
quick
just
update. I didn't respond specifically back to them because I was going to ask you guys what specific questions you wanted me to ask them. And then I decided I was going to email actually everybody and make sure everybody got their information in, because I did find in 2023, Rachel had invoiced some groups, not all the groups, but some of the groups. So I wanted to make sure that the numbers coming in are what the numbers we had and vice versa. You know, some of the numbers from 23 that's come in so far, they're off by like 2 from last year or 1 from last year. So not really worried about those. And it looks like we didn't invoice for lights for 23 at all. Thankfully with Musco outside of Claxton, with Musco, we can invoice, we can pull reports on exact usage for any day, any month. So that was easier to pull. Do you guys want to see what I've been working on?
If you
Would
got
that
it
be
in front of you.
easier? Of course I do. What kind of a question is that?
yeah, and I don't know, Stacy, if you were on yet when I said, but like, I think the commission knows too, but in Stacy and Hannah's defense, when, as I suspected, when La Crosse requested the permit or whatever, I'm sure they never mentioned anything different other than a regular spring permit.
It just all looks the same.
Yeah, it all looks the
Yeah.
so when you
Yeah, it
go,
looks
you,
the
and you apply for a permit, it asks times and places and things like that, but like, I'm sure they never said that. I think it was sneakily done, if that's even a word.
Sneakily.
Sneakily,
It
if
is
that's a word,
Get that in the notes?
Yeah, we know what it means.
It's recorded.
I don't know if it's sneakily is the right word, but I think that,
It's not fully transparent.
it was not fully transparent, correct, not fully transparent, and I don't, so I wanted to just to kind of defend, just because I'm sure, like, and Stacy, I think you responded back to my email that you were not aware of
Oh,
that.
no, I felt that it came
Yeah.
through La Crosse organization.
Yeah.
Whether they knew it or not, I suspect they might have, but they pulled them under their umbrella. But
And that's, and the other thing we have to think about with things like that, and when Stacy, if you choose, when you do choose to speak with them or whatever, is that it's not even about the money, I mean, it is, like, but the bigger issue is the insurance part of that.
Yep.
Because they're not under, if they're set up with USA Lacrosse, like I think they are, they don't, USA Lacrosse, just like USA Field Hockey, USA Rugby, USA Soccer, they don't cover.
They're two different.
They're two
COIs.
different entities, so like, if somebody had gotten hurt at that, it would have, that person could have sued, you know, not just the town, like everything, because they probably would not have been covered under Needham Lacrosse's umbrella. So that's, I think, the bigger,
so I think, I don't know what information you'll have by the field summit, hopefully you'll have this ironed out, but I think this is a big issue that we should talk about at the field summit and say, we had a group somehow got in under an umbrella, and I don't wanna say lacrosse, I mean,
Yeah.
this, you know, we're in a public meeting here, that it was under their umbrella, and we were under the impression it was part of Needham lacrosse, and it wasn't. And that's a huge problem for the town, and in turn, a huge problem for you folks, because you're on the hook too. Right? And-
Yeah.
Part of the
Liability.
field user manual that you're not
Yes.
allowed to sublet. your
Right,
time.
and so I
That's
think we
where
need
it's
to
the
address that right
right
up front, and whether lacrosse did it knowingly or not.
Yeah.
At this point, it does matter, but it doesn't really matter, they
Right.
did it. So we need, like, do you agree that we should address it?
Absolutely.
No, I agree.
It should be on the
Absolutely.
agenda.
You shouldn't be sneaking stuff by the goalie.
I mean, hopefully,
No.
you're the only group that has done that.
I doubt it.
That's, hate to paint with a broad brush, but. if
I
one-
think we
if
should
one's doing it,
definitely address it at the field summit and just remind the groups that. Like the big piece of that is insurance and who's liable and I'm sure that it's been done by other groups, I. And the reason people probably don't, you know, say anything is because they have to pay that group, you know, a portion of whatever they take in for those registrations, right? So, I don't know, I just think it's definitely something that should
I
be
think, I think
addressed.
it should definitely be. All right, Stacey, what are you showing us here?
So it's just a quick overview. We'll use baseball, softball, you know what, we'll just use junior football. Make it easy.
Baseball's all paid up?
All paid up.
No, not even. See?
Your
Okay.
life fee just came in.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So for
Fine.
junior
I-
football,
mine checked.
we have our fall registration numbers. That makes the fall fee for 23. Non-residents, non-resident fee, light hours, which is the number I directly pull from the Musco website. That's the light fee, and everything adds up, so that's the number that they're owed for the fall 2023 season. The reason they have a light hours in summer is because they start in August, and I ran the lights from January to June, July to August, and then September to December, just to make sure it was the same throughout. Same thing here, fall registration. So these are Needham residents. Then we have non-residents. These are the light hours. And then the total is that. Nikki and I are working on this together because I don't always see the money coming in. So she's going to fill in when the paid columns. And most of the time, for instance, these guys paid, who are these guys? Oh, right, baseball, softball. So they paid this check for 35, they paid 65.30, but we hadn't yet got the light fee out to them. So that's part of the balance. And these are the light fees for the other ones, but that's the difference between these two numbers right here is the lights.
Oh, that's awesome. Wow.
And it changes like the rate in 23 is different than the rates in 24. Down here, the adults have other rates, which is their per hour rate that we calculate on top of their resident, non-resident. And then we also have clinic rates, which is the number of days like per person per day. So we have all of this, and Nikki and I are working together to pull together all the numbers for 23 and 24.
I'm curious, out of the youth groups, who would you
and
say? Oh, sorry.
Green means they're actually all paid up.
Wow. Okay, cool. St. Joe's right, that big 560.
That's awesome.
So,
Quick question, can I,
Sorry.
so, out of the youth, groups, I'm just curious, like, who are the like the top money that you take in?
Who have the highest?
Yeah, out of like the top three.
So
Just
right now
in general,
it's
each year,
soccer, baseball, softball, and then boys lacrosse.
Okay.
Because everybody else really only uses it one season.
Yeah,
Like girls
Okay.
lacrosse, just the spring, football, just the fall.
yeah,
The Y just
football.
doesn't have the numbers. And Needham Athletics, we only charge them for lights. We don't charge them the user fees. So these are just the
Right.
light fees that they owe us.
yeah. That's good. That looks great.
Either track's gonna deficit or are they gonna credit?
No.
Yes.
I see, what's up, I'm all pink on the top there.
Oh, Uncle Brad.
Except for my lights.
I'm sorry, Cindy, you have a question?
I do, so when we meet with the finance committee, it's very helpful to be able to say how much we bring into the town for revenue, right? So revenue from our programs, revenue from the pool, because it's a little bit offset. We're one of the few revenue generating departments, right? Most departments don't generate revenue. And so it'd be real helpful to know that. I think Chris has kind of asked that question. In addition to what we're bringing for program fees, and program revenue, it would be nice to know what we collect for user fees and light fees in total. Or maybe by group, so that we can show the finance committee, this is what we turn back to the town. So yeah, maybe we cost the town $1.5 million or whatever, I told like $5.5 million, but we also turn back to the town through a combination of fees and user fees and stuff, this amount of money. So it would be nice to have that information so that we can have that, so you give them kind of a mini P and L, right, profit and loss statement, right?
The fees
let
that
me,
come, like.
Let me show you something real quick that I just pulled up on my rec so you guys can see what I see, or that Hannah and I see every day. So these are the registration numbers for September 1st through December 1st. So I did it that because we had new registration on December 5th. So between those September and December, we took in 1,996 registrations for about $196,000.
Wow.
We still have some
Wow.
outstanding balances, people use refunds, things like that. But you can see over the last 12, this is our yearly income for the last 12 months. March, April, obviously those are the two highest months because that's when we do registration. That's registration for camp and pool open. And it stays pretty steady through the summer and then it drops off significantly. And I bet you if I did this for 23, 22, it would look the exact same way, the numbers.
And
So
this is
this
pulled from the
week-
software.
This is our registration
is-
software. We can pull this at any time. Like we had, yep, let's see.
And this is the new program that we just started, what, 2 years ago? My rec, or we always had my rec?
No, 2 years ago.
Okay.
Real 2.5, but really we
Okay.
really started in 22. And you can
That's-
do sort of anything. So like July 1, we can show the number of memberships that were purchased. Hang on.
It's 2024.
So I think that would be great information to have, I mean, for us prior to the finance committee, but to show to them, this is what we collected, what we, for revenue, if you will, right? And it offsets a little bit, our $1.5 million in expenses.
So between
But
just
people
for the
pay
month
their
of
user
July,
fees.
we had 63 memberships just for the month of July.
Wow.
And so you can do that for all of our programs, as you can see.
Stacy, when people pay their user fees, does that money go back into Park and Rec's pot?
No, actually just, yeah, no. It's funny, I've had this conversation like 4 or 5 times today.
Oh, really?
It's not a
that's the same
50-50, it's a split, and it's actually broken down in our field user manual, very specifically.
Yes.
I can tell you off the top of my head what it was before 24, and that was $10 went to field maintenance fees, $5 went to admin, and that's for any typical 15 per person per season. For adults, the per person fee goes to field maintenance and the per hour fee goes towards admin. The admin money, some of it covers our credit card costs because now people can, you know, pay by credit card and get the points if they want to, or the
Yeah.
miles. Or that money does get funneled into the athletic field stability fund. Whereas the field maintenance fees, we gather them, and then every year, typically in the spring, the money doesn't go to Eddie. Eddie sends me the bill that he needs me to pay, and then we
Yeah,
pull it
that's
out
what I
of
was
that
wondering.
fund.
Yeah, if it goes directly or okay.
Yep.
That's good to know.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
I think the only thing that wasn't answered is the original question that Stacy's had about the lacrosse email. And like, what is the type of questions that you want us to bring forth to that response? Is that correct?
I think I probably
Thank
have
you.
like 8 questions
We have
on mine.
one.
Yeah.
You get one, you get one, you get one.
If I have one with subsections, one A, one B, one C. All right, what I would say is,
Or if you don't wanna, like, if you can't think of them right now and you have like time before, let's say tomorrow end of day, you can email back in that chain. And then we can kind of build a list from there. Would that be
Nope.
better?
Oh,
Don't
shit,
email
like
it
that.
on the chain.
First of all, stop emailing on the chain. What I can do is gather the questions that you all asked, put them in a list, send them out to you. You can respond to me and me only, not reply all. A yay or a nay, or I like this one, or I don't like this one, or whatever it is. Then we'll come up with a final version and then I can email that out. Once again, do not reply all.
Okay,
Thank you. Does
Got
that
it.
work for everybody?
yes, we'll try.
Fair enough.
all right, fantastic. Anything else? All right, operating budget, capital budget, no big change. You kind of went over that in the director's report. Moving on to action items and approvals, no special events. No policy approvals, no fee approvals. Meeting minutes of November 18th. Everybody was here except for Dina. So if people can take a look at the notes.
Make a motion, Mr. Chair, that we approve the minutes of November 18, 2024.
We have a motion. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Motion is second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of approving the minutes of the Park and Rec meeting from November 18th, say aye. Aye. One abstention.
I abstain.
I hope so. Okay. Chairs, updates, issues not reasonably anticipated by the chair. Hi, yes.
Just sorry, I just wanna make sure I'm clear with what Stacy needs very quickly. So we never answered your question with that original email. Should you just charge the 240 and move on, or, you know? So you have not yet responded back to them, right?
I have
Okay,
not
okay.
responded, and I got the sense from your emails that you didn't want me to just charge the 240 and move on, that maybe we
That
had
is
some
correct.
follow-up questions beforehand. So
Correct.
just to go over it again, I'm gonna pull together all the questions, email the group and say, is this the list of questions that you want me to ask lacrosse? And then you can reply individually to me and say yay or
Okay.
nay or whatever you want.
Okay, thank you.
Good,
Mhm.
You sure?
I'm good.
okay, perfect. No real new updates or things anticipated by the chair. Topics for future meetings. I mean, I think we could all, before you two got here, we were talking about the way this meeting went tonight. I don't think we need to have a meeting on the December 23rd,
No,
unless something really big comes up, but of December.
I don't think so.
Yeah, no, just right, we will have one more before the.
We have
yeah.
one meeting
Yes.
before the field summit.
Correct, yes, January 13th, so expect that one to be a little bit lengthy, because we're gonna go over what we're gonna go over for the field summit.
Yep.
Catch up on anything else that we have, but I mean, with it being the week of Christmas, I don't think we need to have a
Stacy
meeting.
has it.
Stacy has it, hi.
Hi, I was just gonna plan to update the director's report and send that out on December 20th. Just so you guys can see any progress for projects or any updates, it'll be at least there in your email. And update the numbers for you, but I agree, I don't think there's really a need to have a meeting, but I will send that out.
So the meeting before the field summit is the 13th,
Correct, on Monday.
and that's where we can talk about, that's when we're gonna talk about the agenda and what we
Yep.
think should happen. Okay,
Correct on Monday.
okay.
Did I send you folks the agenda from last year?
You did,
Yeah,
yes.
I thought I did, but I just wanted to be sure. Thank you, Cindy.
I would ask or request as one thing for an early Christmas present, if we can start going back to the Friday updates. Starting the beginning of the year,
Sure.
Fantastic.
Those were very helpful.
They were, they
Sitting
honestly,
there
even if
reading them
it's
And time consuming,
a
but
few
so helpful.
You guys
paragraphs,
read
it's
them?
just.
I never got any
Yes.
feedback.
Oh,
I thought it was just
everyone-
going into
Everyone
the
that came in, I
ether.
didn't read the minutes of the
Brad
meeting, I
receipts
read the
were-
Friday updates, excuse me.
Nothing.
I read them.
I
thought they were great.
Well, I'm
Everything you
happy
said
to.
was
They fell
key.
apart. They just fell off because I was like, is
Well,
anything?
we haven't talked about where they went to. We weren't sure why they stopped, but we didn't bring it up until.
I thought we were gonna only do those during the busy time, but maybe I'm losing my mind. I thought.
I
didn't know
don't
it was an
typically
evening
send
thing.
them the Friday before we're gonna meet on a Monday because that's when you get your meeting packet.
Yes, that's right.
Right.
Yes,
So like every other, so
yeah,
the weeks that we don't have meetings,
Yes.
I'd be good with that.
yeah, I'm fine with that.
Yeah. So
Okay.
I think it's a lot of work.
we read everything you send us, but we don't always respond to you because why would, we don't want to clutter up your inbox. But if you want us to respond to everything, we maybe could do that, but I don't think you do. Okay, just saying, but we read everything.
That's fair.
don't we?
Yeah, I would do,
Or at least one of us reads everything.
especially
I-
look at
yeah.
pictures, I like pictures. All right, topics for future meetings, we talked about what we're gonna talk about the January 13th meeting. The only last three things I have to say is, what a fantastic season for the Needham High School football team. Wasn't the result that we wanted, but I think we got gypped of a fumble recovery call towards the
And
end.
And the refs.
That's, people are human and they make mistakes, but I mean, what a way to end it. I mean, listen, it's 14-7. I'd rather have that than get creamed, 34
On TV.
They did, and I thought it was fantastic, so congratulations to them all. I wish them all the best of luck. I know also tonight was the send off for Denise Garlic after 13 years of service, that very well commending her on her service to the town of Needham and everything that she did do. So, it was very well attended, so I think that's great. Also someone here in Needham that got the recognition they deserve is that Teddy Eaton was the special guest for turning on the lights for the Christmas tree
Oh, she
on
was.
Saturday night, yes.
And Santa Claus that night was our very own Cher.
Yes.
Right, you were Santa Claus?
I was Santa Claus Saturday night.
Oh,
I was very
I
nervous
have
that, the biggest thing
so
is I
many
felt that my
things.
pants were going to fall down. In the Santa outfit, getting out of the fire truck, but no, it was, I do have to say, I was telling Cindy that, Miles Tucker, who was the one that organized it, very thorough. We had a binder of exactly what we needed to do by time and by minute. But for something that was technically only an hour and 45 minutes long, I thought it went off great. It was the first year I've actually been part of it. I've gone and seen it before, but to see how it's run for something that complex in such a short time, I thought it was done extremely well, so.
I
they
mean,
asked me back
Miles
again, I
is
would
former
go.
Air Force, so he is very methodical.
Yes, definitely, so.
I have a lot of
that is all-
questions and comments, Chris, but I will not say them on this recorded line.
Let's just say on the Christmas list, a lot of Legos come to town this year. That was one of the other things.
Oh,
So,
that's cute.
all right, anything else that we need to discuss?
No,
All right, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second?
We have a motion, a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Thank you all very much. Stacy, feel better?
Yes, feel better.
Maybe.
Thank
I'm
you.
gonna Work
Thank
from home
you.
tomorrow to stay out of the office and keep everybody else safe. All right,
Wonderful.
bye-bye.
Hannah, can I give this to you?
So you were at
To the
Denise's
meeting.
thing?